Hi guys, Carbohana Camera here for Team Shift, and today we have Polley's second place finish from Norwich Regional. So what deck did you play?
I played Adventure Spright.
Cool. Any thoughts on the deck?
It's been really hard trying to figure out because the format is so open what deck to play. I've been playing Spright for a couple of weeks now, and I did quite well with Adventure Spright before when I was playing the first. I just copied the first place list of Lima, and that was working out quite well. Then I tested Melfi Spright, and it was good, but it just didn't seem like it did enough, especially when you went first and you got hand trapped sometimes. So Carl decided to put the adventure cards back in. We've been all testing it together, and I think it's probably the best Spright version right now. And it seems like the boards it makes going first win a majority of the time, and it can still play a lot of like non-engine, and the adventure engine is just good in itself going second, along with some of the stuff that Spright cards can do. So yeah, I think it is one of the best decks, at least to play for London or any events coming up soon.
Yeah, we're a little worried about Dart Roller as well, and the end board that you can put up plays around it quite nicely. So let's see the list.
Yeah, so to start off with the Sprights, there's 3 blue, 3 jet, a red and a carrot, so that's pretty standard. I think most of us play that. I know some might play an extra red or a carrot, but we're already above 40 at this point. And with all the nimbles and stuff, I don't think you really need any extra extenders, especially with all the adventure cards you have.
Yeah, Griffin works as extra carrots and reds anyway.
Yeah, because even if you just open it, you can just special it to use it for a spring summon. And then the other main level 2 engine is the nimbles. I think the 2 and the 3 is fine. Maybe if you play more swap frogs to summon Toad a bit easier, you can play 3 angler because it's a good discard with the adventure and stuff. But by the time you've resolved 2, you don't really need any because your sprint is normally always just sending this. There's not really much else to send. And I'm not playing anything like Soul Scissors because most of the time when you would want to summon Soul Scissors, there's other cards that are like good enough to summon off of it anyway, because there's times where you might not have enough monsters to make Toad with by summoning the swap, so you want to summon something else, but summoning like a red or a carrot basically is as good as, if not better than, summoning Soul Scissors most of the time. I think there was only maybe one game today, or like over testing, that I would have preferred the Soul Scissors than in my deck than anything else.
Yeah, there wasn't any extra targets for the Swap Frog to send, just because we didn't want the extra bricks.
Yeah, so the Swap Frog combo is like what the Lima list was doing, where you summon the swap off the Gigantic, and then you make Reapodocus to make something else in Aqua, and then you can make Toad. And then with Double Cross, you have double Toad like you would with Elf.
Yeah, we also have the Swap Frog to bounce the Griffin for the aforementioned Dart Roller.
Yeah, I just think Toad is like one of the best cards still to make in Spright, so I still wanted to play it again.
Gives you follow up with the Beaver, doesn't it?
Yeah, and especially with not playing like the Tetsudo or the dupe, you're not playing any other bricks, and you don't need the dupe anyway to like summon off the Toad, because you don't need to really protect anything, because you're not playing the Tetsudo anymore, so there's nothing like you need to protect. Because if they just go battle phase to try and like beat over something, you can just double cross the monster if you need to. So I think this is fine. Like sometimes you open the swap and you can discard some of the waters, but because you have this Enchantress as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to experiment maybe with more swaps to try and make Toad easier, because obviously I just think Toad's one of the best cards on the deck still. And then for the adventure cards, kind of standard package. 2 right. To be honest, this list is 43 cards. Maybe if it was any higher, I'd play a 3rd right, because obviously you want to see the card, it's really good, but you already have 5 and you don't want to open multiple adventure cards in one hand. You want to have like maybe 1 or 2 max, and then you still have all your other Spright extenders, because it just does the same thing every time you send on a token and a Griffin. So I think the ratio was fine. Maybe another right would help, but I didn't miss it that much, to be honest. And then for hand traps, 3 Ash, 3 Droll, and the Gammas. This was really good. I really liked all of these cards. Even to decks where you think it might not be good, like against the Labyrinth and stuff, Gamma still hits Lady, and it's fine. Ash, like, obviously hits all the Labyrinth cards. Droll's the only one that's not really super generic, but the cards, like the decks that it hits, most of the time it like stops 2+ interruptions. So if they don't play around the draw in like Spright or something, by starting in draw phase, you can like stop them. If they summon blue, you can stop them getting jet, which stops double cross, which is like the best card in the deck when they're going first. It stops, if they're playing adventure, obviously it stops all the adventure stuff, trying to get them to Griffin. It stops like math mechs, it can stop cash. There's just loads of stuff that draw can hit if it's good against the deck.
So one of the best cards to back up a board as well.
Yeah, so if you just have like everything, you're not. If you end with a toad, you normally don't double cross to someone like a blue or a jet to add. So you're just never adding in their turn anyway, so it doesn't matter. Because most of the time you're not. If you go first, unless you already open the double cross, you're not adding like a star or anything. So you can just pick what you want to do with your double cross because obviously it has 3 effects that are all just really good. So yeah, I really liked all of these. I don't know if I would change any of them. Maybe draw, maybe put it on the side, but I think the amount of stuff that it can hit even game 1, I think I might want to keep it in. Yeah. And then for spells, obviously the 3 starter, and then 3 prosperity. Oh, this card's just really good. You're not playing runic cards, so you don't need to. There's nothing in the deck that draws, so just dig for any card you want. It's really good.
We neglected to play things like Cap Shell as well for the like obviously making Sprint with because of Pros. It's just so much better.
Yeah, there's not anything really like. There's like 1 or 2 slots in the deck that are just built for what can I summon off Gigantic if I open blue or jet already. And I think Swap is probably the best one because it makes the best end board. Like if you're going second, obviously it's not amazing, but then like Hyperia and Capshell and stuff aren't amazing going second either. Like you want something good to summon off Gigantic. So yeah, Prosperity is just a really good card. And then Foolish, obviously for the Beavers and the Enchantress, and then there's 3 talents. So 2 talents, 1 thrust. I don't really like this card actually. It's only actually good if you're going second, especially in this deck. Because if you go first, obviously people aren't really playing Bestial, so they're not going to have a monster if they go first unless they gamma you. So there's nothing to like set because you're only playing 1 trap, which is the double cross. So there's nothing to actually like set off the thrust when you're going first that will do something on their turn too. So talents has just been really good all day. Going fast, you feel really safe because most of the time your hand plays through 1 hand trap anyway. So if they hand trap you on something, you just talents look at the hand, like get rid of a card, and then you can still make some kind of board and you know exactly what to hit. So yeah, I think I might cut this, the thrust, because I sided it out every time I went first because it just doesn't really do anything. So yeah, I don't know if I play 3 talents, depends on how many cards I'm playing in the deck, because talents is a really good card, but sometimes it is just dead because they don't activate anything, and you just don't want to see 2, but yeah. And then the last card on the deck is Double Cross. It's just the best card going fast. You set it every time off Jet, because it basically does what Starter would do, because if you don't need to summon back, like if you don't need to take one of their monsters, or you don't need to summon back Toad or something, you can just summon back Jet in your end phase or something to like the Sprint zone or Reproducer zone, and then you still get started for next time you can play. So yeah, that's 43.
And no smashers?
No, so the problem I found with smashers was I know a couple people were thinking about cutting it, because when you go first, you're still getting rid of one of your bodies. So if they hand trap you, you don't normally end on like maybe more than 3 monsters. So if you're red tributing something and like getting rid of one of your monsters and they clear the rest of your board, most of the time you can play fine if you have like 1 level 2, because you can just normal summon a hand trap or something, make a sprint, make Gigantic, and it's fine. But if you have to get rid of one of your cards, it can sometimes make that a lot harder. Like obviously Smashers is good going second, but it's one of the cards where sometimes you don't actually want to open it, you just want to keep it in deck to search it sometimes, and it just doesn't, like, there was never a time in the day where I actually missed Smashers when I was like, oh, I wish I could have a Smashers to search instead of like a Double Cross or another star, because Double Cross is the best spell and trap to get going first, and going second start is still good because you can summon more monsters to like kill them with like Mosquito going second, or you just keep the starter for follow-up on your next turn. So there was never a time that I missed Smashers. I don't think I'd play it again, especially in this list or as the format is right now.
All good, and onto the extra deck.
Yep, so it's pretty standard, so it's 2 Gigantic, the Mosquito, Toad, Jin, Animaru, Double Zeus and the Downward. So obviously the 2 Gigantic's fine. I was thinking about maybe playing the third because there's some cards in here that I just never really made or missed. So obviously the Mosquito is like mandatory. You kill so many people with it. There's so many times you can just go second, you bow at that interruption, and you just summon like this, and like 3 of the monsters is just like, it just kills most people if they have a big enough monster. And then Toad, obviously, for going fast, with a swap for a combo. Jin Buster, I made it once. It seems good in theory if you have a leftover blue or a jet, but most of the time you're just making something else with them. Like, you could, because we're playing like a Lambda for the Gamma and stuff, you can just make this if you have a Gamma in hand, or even just summon it to bluff them into thinking you have a Gamma. And it's just really small, because especially if you're not playing dupe, there's no way to protect this. So it's not amazing, so I think I might cut this. Animaru, it's just basically just an XZ, so you can basically play any other like rank 2 XZ. I thought this one would be good. I never summoned it, I never used it, so yeah, it could be basically anything. Obviously the double Zeus for cash, and then the Downward with the Zeus as well. So I think out of this, I think the Animaru and the Jin are like the 2 things that I'd change the extra deck, to be honest. And then for the links, you have 2 Sprint, the Nightmares, Ripdarkus and Lambda. So obviously 2 Sprint is pretty normal. 1 for turn 1 and then 1 for the turn 3. Well, get rid of 1 off Prosperity and then just use the 1. Nightmares, I only summon Cerberus, but they're just really good utility because they're still obviously Link 2s. They clear a threat if you need to, because obviously sometimes this deck has a hard time clearing monsters because all your monsters are tiny. So Cerberus can pop something. Phoenix can get rid of like a Fountain or like some back row you're having trouble with. And then obviously Reproductors for the combo. And because we're playing Gamma, sometimes you just have extra monsters and you can just make a Lambda either before you start comboing off, because then you're protected with the Gamma in your hand, or you just end on it as well, because it gives you 2 link zones for the double cross, and then obviously they have to either try to attack it, which you have normally the double cross to like take the monster if they attack it with, and it's just like a really big threat that some people are just really scared of, because every time I summon this, I think I summoned it 3 times with a Gamma in my hand and 1 time without, and they have to respect it, because if they get, like, Gamma's such high impact that if you Gamma someone, like, the tempo swing is just huge anyway. So everyone has to like respect it to some degree. So yeah, I think I'm definitely going to keep playing Lambda in the future as long as I play Gamma. But yeah, I think the extra deck was almost perfect. I think the only cards that could maybe be changed are these 2 and maybe one of these. But I think these are just too good utility to cut out with this deck.
They also dump dead anglers in hand as well.
Yeah, there's a lot. You can like discard and spare enchantresses. You have some stuff that you can use in the grave. And then for side, 3 Lancia. This, I'm still not sure on this card, to be honest. It's good going second or even first against Cashier, but that's about it. There's not really anything else you want. I know Dinkham Fam was playing Melfi Spright, and he said that he was signing it in every time he'd go fast to protect against evenly, but because we're playing Adventure and we can make Toad, like, we have negates to protect from evenly anyway. So yeah, I don't know what I'd put in place for the Lancia, but I don't think I'd play it again, to be honest. Resonator, no comment. Duster, Change of Heart. So I kind of just wanted, there's other cards that you want going second that kind of just hit different decks. So obviously this is good against a lot of back row decks, and even like some decks like Mathmech where you can force them to use their cards. And Change of Heart is just like a good there's one space left in the extra, not the extra, the side deck, and this is probably one of the best ones for going second to just help kill people. Because most of the time, if you can, like, if you bait out interruptions, like I said, you can just mosquito them, or you can Zeus them, and this just helps because it'll either take something that's big to help you kill them, it takes an interruption, or it makes them use an interruption. So I tried this in a couple of times. I never saw it, but in theory, it's really good.
Also, with all the link twos, they're never getting it back anyway.
Yeah, there's so many ways to just get rid of the monster. So you'll never, like, it's really easy to just take a monster and use it for link material. And then 3 Dark Ruler. I don't think a lot of people are playing this at the minute, but this card is just really good. So against all the Spright decks, you cut out like 2-3 interruptions from them just straight away. Obviously they can't respond. There's not a lot of decks that, like the back row that Spright and stuff put up, they're good, but they're not super impactful. Like Double Cross is good, but by itself, Double Cross will not win you a game. So if I cut off all your other interruptions, I'm free to either, I can just clear your board, and it's just a lot easier. It's good against basically everything Cash do, because if they try to zone lock you, and they can only do the 3 zone lock on their turn, you just Dark Ruler them, their Rise is turned off, their Shangri-La's turned off, their monsters they summoned off it, and the Sand Buffets are turned off. And then their back row's not usually that amazing. If they just send on a Rise Heart Pass, you can Dark Ruler them. If they have Lance, they have Lance, but it's kind of hard for this deck to get past the Lance or Rise Heart anyway. But you have some of the adventure stuff, and you can just make like
Things like Gamma as
mosquito
well.
it, yeah. Prosperity into Gamma is just really good. Because obviously, I think most people know a Rise Heart is mandatory, so you can just play a card, and if you have Gamma in your hand, you just Gamma the Rise Heart, it's fine, and you just clear it. But yeah, this card is really good into pretty much everything that's like not super back row heavy. I'm definitely playing this again. It's one of the best cards that I've activated over the entire weekend.
It's also one of the better decks at being able to Zeus your opponent, which is really good after a Dark Roller.
Yeah, because even if you like basically brick and you have like a level 2 and any monster in the game, you can just summon Sprint, make it gigantic, and just Zeus them. And most of the decks that you're putting Dark Ruler in against, like 2 Zeuses, like one to wipe the board on your turn, and then one to wipe the board when they try to set up the next turn. You basically just win the game. So yeah. And then the only real go first card apart from Lancia is Anti-Spell. I only sided it in once. I think I need to change my side deck patterns because there's not, when I'm going fast against some decks, there's just not a lot to take out. But this in theory is like really good, especially if people start playing Dark Ruler. Because it either forces them against like Runic and stuff. If they have Destruction, they have Destruction. But if they don't, they have to use all their spells like straight away, or you just get a turn to like either kill them or just set up a bigger board. So you can basically just play for free.
And even if they do have it, sometimes you have Toad or Griffin anyway.
Yeah, so you have the negates to back this up and just keep it stuck there. There's a lot of decks that want to have all their, like, use a lot of spells, like Castillo uses a lot of spells, even if they summon, like, Unicorn, like, to actually make a combo or something, they need to use, like, Field Spell or Birth or Theosis, so it basically cuts off that. It might not be amazing against some Spright decks, but, like, forcing them to use their cards is, like, a big thing with this card as well, just so you get more knowledge of what they're doing in their turn. So I really like this. I don't know if I'd change it for something else going first, but I don't know if you have enough space really to take out cards, because most of your cards, like the hand traps, are good against a lot of things. Obviously you don't want to cut any of the adventure stuff, you don't want to cut the Nimbles, you don't want to cut the Spright cards, but yeah. In theory this is good, have to keep testing it. I think it's one of the better go first cards, and I don't think a lot of people are playing it at the minute, so I can catch up for quite a lot of people. And then the last card is Evenly. I really didn't like this card this weekend. I decided it, I sided it in once against Labyrinth and it got Judgment, so I guess it did its job. But a lot of your cards, like I said again, like a lot of your cards in the main deck are just good against every deck. Like Adventure's just good against a lot of decks because you have Negate and a Bounce. and you don't really have the space to take out stuff going second for the evenly, and even like a lot of decks you don't, evenly's not even that good. Like back row decks, obviously evenly's good, but then again like Lightning Storm's good. And then for like cash, they still keep the Arise Heart and you get rid of that back row, but you're still under an Arise Heart that probably has, they can detach the 3 to banish face down. Against Branded, they can just flip Branded and red, and then they have Mirror Jade and Dragons to Polley still. So in theory this card's good, and I think a lot of people have been playing it because they think it's good and they activate it sometimes and it like clears 3 or 4 cards, but it doesn't actually win them the game. There's other cards that would be a lot better and would like guarantee a lot of games, because I think in this format especially you want your blowout cards or your non-engine to 100% stop the deck, because a lot of the decks are like on par with each other where they're good but they're not amazing, and you can't out-engine a lot of decks, and it's just a fight between who opened the better non-engine. So yeah, that's the deck. I think there's a lot to be done in terms of what cards in like there's a few cards in the main side and extra that I want to change. There's a lot of stuff on the side that I think could be definitely improved upon, but I think the core of the deck is really strong, and I think people should definitely have Spright on the radar, because I think it's definitely picking up a lot of steam. But yeah, all in all, I think the deck's good, and there should be some work done on it.
And any other closing thoughts or shout-outs at all?
So shout out to Carl, again, for giving me the deck list. Shout outs to everyone on the team for theorying. Shout outs to Cam and Carl and Luke for the cards, since I don't own any anymore. But yeah, I think that's about it.
And also shout out to our sponsors as well, Sparta Card Gaming. Links will be in the description. Cheers, guys.
Thanks.